Hello and welcome. For ChinaSolved, I'm Andrew Hubert, and this is the China Negotiator. Episode 36, Right Moves for Right Now. Today is December 6, 2018. China decision makers, what's your next move? The G20 offered surprisingly few clues about your future. I'm going to help you approach this from the other side. Give me 10 minutes and we'll walk away with a strategy. So I want you to start with two basic questions. Question 1, will hostility between the United States and China fizzle out, or is it going to intensify? Question 2, will the ultimate solution or the next steady state in the relationship between the U.S. and China be win-win cooperative or win-lose competitive? Bonus question, are you a procrastinator? Now that we have some basic information, let's go to the matrix, as we are wont to do here at ChinaSolved. So across the top, the x-axis, I have the level of conflict, the level of engagement. Is it going to be an intense engagement, or is it going to fizzle out and normalize? And across the left, the y-axis, I have the degree of cooperation. Win-win is at the top, win-lose competitive at the bottom. If you are top right, if you believe that we're ultimately going to have some form of cooperative relationship between the United States and China, and you think that this particular conflict is going to fizzle out as opposed to intensify, then what you're looking for is the nice press release and photo op version of negotiation. And that is sort of what we saw at G20. In my opinion, a lot of times when you see a win-win solution to a de-escalating or de-intensifying situation, it could be a stalling tactic. Or you could be building for a real relationship afterwards. But this can be an act of loss minimization if you know you're involved in a lose-lose negotiation. What if you think it's going to fizzle out, but we're going to end up with a steady state of win-lose competition? Well, then you're going to feel right at home if we get this, because this is what life was like before 2016, before the tariffs and the trade war began. So you'll be going back to the pre-2016 status quo, which looked terrible at the time, but is starting to look a lot better. And finally, if you think things are going to intensify on the win-lose track we're on now, then you should probably be preparing for a trade war or a full-on Cold War. And what about intensification, ending in a win-win cooperative solution? Maybe if we are attacked by space aliens, then I think the whole species will pull together as one. But barring anything less wacky than that, I'm not really looking for this to bolster a win-win solution, although that is what Donald Trump and the Trump people have been saying is going to be the result, that this is going to make us closer and be better for everyone. So let's look at what we're going to talk about today. Stop panicking, start analyzing. Number 2, what's your win? Number 3, what are the right moves to make right now? Let's take a look at each one of those in a little bit more detail. Chapter 1, just breathe. Stop panicking and start analyzing. Procrastination has been a pretty good strategy up until now. If you've been procrastinating and putting off those big decisions, kudos to you, sir. You've played this one smart up until now, but that's going to come to an end soon. The first deadline date that we're looking at is 90 days from G20. You can also mark that on your calendar as the date that tariffs might go from 10% to 25%. You've got to do your own analysis right now because there is so much conflicting data, bad data, and politically colored data out there that if you rely on someone else's take on this, then you are putting yourself at risk. Number 2, look at the North Korea model of negotiation because Beijing is probably looking at that really carefully. The Chinese have to believe that if Kim Jong-un could pull off a convincing charm offensive, then so can Xi Jinping. So the good news is that Xi Jinping and the Communist Party may make an effort to be more engaging and to try to charm the United States side. The bad news, Xi Jinping and the Communist Party may try to be more engaging and may try to charm the other side. And number 3, If you're a manufacturer or a sourcer, you'll probably be moving up or out of coastal China within 2 to 5 years anyway, no matter what the outcome of this trade tension. If things go badly and your supply chain is broken, you're going to have to relocate. And if things go well, then coastal China is going to be very highly specialized and a good deal more expensive than it is now. And no one in Shenzhen is going to be particularly interested in making extruded plastic parts. So if you are looking for high volume, low cost production, you may be referred to your present company's subsidiary in Cambodia or Myanmar or Indonesia. Number 2, what's the win? Each party here has their version of a win, and you've got to have your own. For China, the win is to have lots of slow-moving but important-looking talks while big stuff is happening behind the scenes. So look for China to flatter and stall in their direct negotiations with the West, but they'll be playing pure defense. So all they have to really do is dig in and resist and try to influence decisions about the deadlines. You'll hear China talking a lot about what is the goal of this negotiation, and it should be win-win, not protectionism. And what's the point of this negotiation? And the real point of this negotiation for China is to extend that 90-day deadline out to indefinite. If you're the U.S., what you're really trying to do is restrict China's growth. But unfortunately, that's probably a moving target. Most of the real negotiations are going to be confidential. And there's nothing on the wish list of U.S. demands that's circulating right now that would help it really meet its goals of competing with China effectively in the 21st century. All we're really doing right now is forcing China to do what it wants to do anyway. They're stockpiling food and fuel. Well, China always wants to stockpile food and fuel. Those are its Achilles heels. And if we're forcing it to buy more grain and to buy more fuel, then we're really not outwitting them too much. And cracking down on fentanyl, again, this is not a huge win because China loves cracking down on dangerous drugs anyway. This is something they would have eventually started doing with or without U.S. pressure. Hope for the fizzle, but prepare for the worst. You've got to do your own analysis because this mess is more convoluted, opaque, and chaotic than anything I've seen probably ever. I've never seen worse data come out on something this important. So the macro level is still very unclear. And that's why I want to focus on the micro level, which is your specific strategy for your specific industry in the next 0 to 720 days. So I've already mentioned that I think everyone will be moving up or out of China within 2 to 5 years. So where does that leave you? You have to decide on where you're going to land if you do have to leave China. So start networking like there's no tomorrow, even though there will be one. I want you to start building off your existing China contacts, especially the private companies who may be your suppliers and your manufacturers, and find out what they've already got in the works as far as a non-China location. They've been doing this, they've been getting ready for this for a long time, and you might be able to just piggyback on their preparation and hard work. Again, validating your decision to procrastinate up till now. When it comes to the state champions and the state-owned enterprises, make a decision if you have to do business with them. And if you are marketing in China, you have to do business with them. And if that's the case, finding stepping stones and reinforce your connections with them now because it'll be hard to do later. And if you don't need them, then avoid them because this is going to be more trouble than it's worth if things go badly. Final word, the risk is very high right now simply because we don't know what logic or what models to use to make guesses about the future. Is it going to be a Kim Jong-un style love affair where in spite of the facts, someone goes with their gut and we decide this is not going to be a problem anymore? Is it going to be a purely symbolic campaign where we reach some sort of détente now, but this just keeps rearing its ugly head every 6 months for the rest of our lives? Or is it going to be a Pyrrhic victory along the lines of the decision to drop out of TPP, the decision to drop out of the Paris Accord, and the whole NAFTA 2.0 negotiation, where we win the war but lose the peace? So as your guide, you should be thinking about this question. Where is your most successful competitor going to be sourcing or manufacturing in 2024? And 5 years from now, where is everyone in your industry going to be? that is where you should probably be thinking about heading now. And that will give your strategic plan some direction in the short term. Thanks very much. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on LinkedIn, please go to the ChinaSolved group for more discussion. I've written a couple of books that may be helpful. The Fragile Bridge talks about conflict in Chinese business situations, and 10 common China negotiating mistakes talks about some common negotiating mistakes in China. Thanks very much for ChinaSolved. I'm Andrew Hubert, and I'll talk to you again soon.